3 of the whistleblowers who went forward and reported Ken Paxton to the FBI back in 2020 are there now in the gallery. Our photographer zooming in, we believe it's David Maxwell, Ryan Vassar, and Blake Brickman. This polling location, which is surrounded by campaign signs that you see right behind me here, sits in a solid Republican Texas House district. Yeah, lawmakers filed thousands of bills, a record 5,300 in the House alone, yet only a small fraction of those deal with toll reforms. The Texas A&M Forest Service shared this map right here, which highlights the places in red where the fire burned near East Whitestone Boulevard and Palmer Lane West. Volunteers have a table set up right inside the front doors. They will be here until midnight to help people register to vote in time for the March primary. Only 2 years after the campaign school began, 11 graduates have now launched campaigns of their own. There we have Governor Greg Abbott wrapping up his news conference today with a number of state agencies and leaders of those particular groups sharing information about this latest winter storm. Notably there, Mandy, we want to point out that the governor and a number of officials said that they believe the power grid is performing very well. I understand you are not sharing an endorsement of either candidate, but as you're weighing your options, what kinds of qualities or policy stances are you hoping the next mayor will have? This is really cool for me to be able to talk to another set of twins. I'm wondering, though, if you two got the same kinds of questions that my twin brother and I got about whether we had any kind of special powers because of that twin connection.
What's your sense of how things are going down there?
Yeah, just a few moments ago, the third witness called during this impeachment trial took the stand. It's been a pretty slow-going process so far this week. However, you mentioned that second witness, a man named Ryan Bangert. He concluded his questioning just a few moments ago. And what he shared is that he used to hold this top position at the Texas Attorney General's office. And during the course of a few months back in 2020, he kept raising concerns that the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, was doing things on behalf of that Austin real estate developer, Nate Paul.
Ready? The shoulders on the drag and go shimmy, 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 all through the town. I like the baby shimmies. Those are cute.
Keeping a crowd's attention comes easily.
Does anybody know what a drag queen is?
When you're Bridget Bandit.
What's a drag queen? You. Me!
She looks like she stepped off the page of the picture book she's reading to this room of families.
The hair on the drag queen goes up, 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 up.
Invitations keep coming her way to lead these story times.
Being around kids is so much fun, and I see their excitement and joy in their faces when they see somebody who looks as bright and bubbly and colorful as I do.
She defended these reading events for kids.
Look at them and all their little blushing cheeks.
When she went in the same sparkly pink dress and wig to the state capitol during the last regular legislative session.
None of us want to have children at our drag shows at the gay bar at 11 p.m. on a Friday night. And there are already laws preventing that from happening, but we do want to continue our events like drag story times that are intentionally modified to be appropriate for children.
The legislation she spoke against that day, Senate Bill 1601, sought to strip state funding from any public library in Texas that held a drag story time. Some in attendance expressed support for creating such a consequence.
There is no debate that this is highly inappropriate for children.
These shows are not Mrs. Doubtfire innocently reading fairy tales to children.
However, the opponents who testified outnumbered the bill's supporters by nearly 50-1 and often returned to the Capitol to demonstrate.
We're Texans too!
We are, we are, we are!
The Senate passed that bill. Its author, Republican Senator Brian Hughes, repeatedly cited one example as justification.
We've learned that certain libraries in the Houston public library system used to host these story hours until they were alerted by the public that one of the participants was a registered sex offender.
That incident in question happened in 2019. The Houston Public Library admitted it did not do enough to check that performer's background. While the library system declined our request for an interview, a spokesperson confirmed its programs today do not include any drag queen story times. The library further added it condemns social inequity in all forms and steadfastly supports the freedom of speech and freedom of expression.
It's unfortunate that the library didn't do their due diligence before hiring
any vendor to come into their space, whether they're working with kids or not.
Jonathan Hamelt leads the national children's literacy nonprofit Drag Story Hour, which has 30 chapters across the U.S. The organization had no involvement with what happened in Houston, but Hamelt points out every one of its storytellers must clear a background check first. Recently, laws passed in Arkansas and Florida led Drag Story Hour to close its chapters there. Texas has 2 chapters.
We're keeping a close eye on what's happening and how we can support our chapters to keep going.
His nonprofit is maintaining its Texas ties, partly because of what happened to SB 1601. The Texas House never took up the measure, so it did not become law. Senator Hughes did not respond to our request about whether he'll revive it next session.
Our entire third floor is just for kids and teens.
And that's what the people who work at Austin Public Library are watching closely.
If other similar legislation, or really any legislation, came up that targeted the freedom to read, intellectual freedom, public libraries, Austin Public Library and the City of Austin are going to continue to monitor what comes out of the legislature and speak up when necessary.
One law Texas did pass this year was Senate Bill 12. Its language did not include the word drag, but critics say how it described a sexually oriented performance could be interpreted that way.
A minor seeing that kind of performance could result in fines against a business and possible criminal charges for a performer. Bridget Bandit and 4 other plaintiffs sued the Texas Attorney General and other officials to keep them from enforcing this law. A federal judge agreed with their arguments and ruled the law unconstitutional. The state now did appeal that decision, and it could be a while before we know the final outcome.
We have our skirts here, our pants, our button-down shirts. We have a bunch of shoes here, quite a bit of makeup and hair products, some perfume.
Shelley Barber made her own department store.
Quite a bit of jewelry down there.
But there's not a price tag in sight.
Please come shop our closet. It's totally free.
She set up this space to help transgender and non-binary Texans, since shopping or trying on clothes in person can be fraught.
Everybody should have someone in their life that makes them feel beautiful. And we want to make sure that they have that feeling.
She named the service Sammy's Closet after her daughter's transgender friend.
She's beautiful, isn't she?
Sammy Bolt received a mountain of clothes donated by some of Barber's neighbors, which sparked the idea to help others.
They really helped me open up and help me express myself in the way I wanted.
They're really nice.
Clothes can be an important social form of gender affirmation for someone struggling with their identity.
Your whole authentic self.
Therapist Megan Butler says since the state will soon limit what kinds of medical treatments transgender minors can access,
we've got shorts and capris in there.
Something as simple as changing their clothing could save lives.
There are not long-term consequences to changing your outfit, right? But for that person, there can be dramatically big change.
The whole thing is just dresses, actually.
Now someone's journey to becoming themselves could start here, among these racks of clothes.
We want you to feel confident and secure and joyous about who you are. That's our aim here. That's all we want to do.
What do you got?
Some cookies.
Oh!
Stephanie Turner made a delivery to thank a lawmaker who helped carry through a bill named after her son, Tucker, who died in 2021 from a fentanyl overdose.
When I describe Tucker, I say he's bigger than this earth, and he sure is, and he's continuing to be.
The bill, called Tucker's Law, requires every school district in Texas to teach students each year about preventing fentanyl abuse and making them aware of its deadly effects.
I know that if my son had this information when he was first offered a Xanax pill, he would be here today.
The governor could now sign that legislation into law, along with another bill sponsored in the House by Representative James Tallarico.
Our legislation is one step toward addressing those teen fentanyl overdoses.
His bill directs districts to keep the opioid overdose medication Narcan on hand in case of emergencies.
This, I think, is tangible action that we're taking to help address this crisis.
A bill that went nowhere this session would have legalized fentanyl testing strips. It's something the Travis County judge hoped would gain some traction.
Every Democrat, Republican that I have talked to that actually deals with this crisis on a local level is in favor of legalizing it, because we're seeing how many people are dying of all ages, of all backgrounds.
State lawmakers could take it up again 2 years from now, but in the meantime,
This is a portrait of my son.
Turner is thinking about the impact Tucker will make.
I am grateful that his life, his name will save others, and I know that he would be proud to know that and to be a part of that and to help others.